I will start this talk with a numerical application to introduce numerical analysis and accurate estimates for particle method, stochastic particle method. And you see here a Google Earth view of a place. You see this small triangle in green, which is almost on Lumini. So this is the navigation basin of Marseille. And you have this square centered on this green triangle that delimitate a computational domain for wind refinement simulation based on stochastic particle methods. So the idea is to start with a large simulation of methodological solver. So typically here we use WRF, which is a famous weather forecast solver. We extract the wind data and other stuff at the boundary of our computational domain. And inside the simulation, we run 500 million of particles according to a dynamics designed to fit some turbulence model for fluid mechanics. And we can extract some information, local information of the wind, like this. So sorry for the not so good quality of the movie. I extract it last night with my laptop, so it's not so good. This is an ongoing project, and I close the parenthesis on that. You know that Paris is a candidate for the Olympic Games in the near future, and Marseille will be the place where all the sailing races will be. So we have the project to refine this computation, to introduce a topography, and to have a nice tools for such a place. We have other application, more serious one that concern wind farm simulations. But if you want, I can show you some simulation, but maybe later in the month or in August. Okay, so the plan of my talk, I divide it in 3 parts. Maybe the third, I will not have time to develop it very much. So first, I would like to introduce stochastic particle methods. As an introduction, I would like to give some intuition of what happens in terms of numerical analysis, at least in the case of linear equation approximation. Then try to complexify a little bit the situation till a situation where the interacting kernels via the function, the particles interact with each other. That the function that's driving this interaction is a nonlinear, a non-smooth one. Sorry. And this is particularly motivated by wind simulation, as I just showed you. And then I would like to show you some numerical experiments on what I call the stochastic Lagrangian modeling, which is the basis of turbulence modeling with particle of fluid. So let me start with a very basic introduction of Makhtin-Vazov, particle approximation first. So I start with a PDE, a very simple one. I start with a PDE in dimension 1, write it in a conservation form. So I have this drift part, which is under a divergence term. And I assume that B is a bounded and measurable function. This equation 1, this PDE, is the Fokker-Planck equation. So it means that if I start with density, I will conserve the positiveness and the mass along the time. Okay? So I can write a weak version of this PDE here. Weak version means that I can integrate this. I don't have any mouse. That's strange. Maybe this. No. Just on a stick, something like that. Ça marche? Ah, je peux appuyer sur. Merci. Ah, voilà. So I take a test function, a smooth one, and integrate. This is this bracket. It means the integral of the density rho t with respect to the function f. And I have this weak form that describes the dynamics of my solution rho. So this is the PDE viewpoint, and now I want to introduce the stochastic viewpoint. So I'm start with a canonical process on the space of trajectories, and I have a probability measure P on this set of trajectories that define a solution of a martingale problem by these two constraints. So the fact that if I define Pt, the marginal in time t of my canonical process, I should have first that P0 is equal to my given initial law, rho 0, and second, that for any test function again, this process is P martingale. So this is something which is closely related to the weak form of my PDE here with the just the application of the Ito formula. So now if we consider that we have existence and uniqueness of this simple linear stochastic differential equation, take a test function again, apply the Ito formula, take the expectation, you will recover again the weak solution of the PDE, the Fokker-Planck PDE, the solution rho t. Okay, so now if I want to construct an approximation of the solution of this PDE, which is not just an approximation on one point like a Feynman-Kac formulation of the problem, but a solution in the whole space, like a PDE approximation method will do. So let's consider a set of independent particles having the same dynamics. So it's just to do that, we just need to introduce some independent Brownian motion here, Wi, and construct the end solution of this copies of stochastic differential equation here. And from this xit, construct the empirical measure that should approximate the solution rho t at any time t. So what is the approximation behind this this empirical measure and the rate of convergence associated to this particle approximation? I should say that so a particle method like this the origin of this kind of approximation comes from deterministic PDE. So imagine that you remove this Brownian motion here. What you have is a characteristic methods and particle methods developed in particular by Raviart in the 70s. So the fact that we had here Brownian motion is something very natural. Okay, so let's we have a parabolic problem here with a smooth solution. So the density, the law of the process at the density. So we are approximated a function rho t at any point, and we construct a function, an approximation function by take the convolution product of this empirical measure with a cutoff function. So a cutoff function is any phi from R to R, smooth, and such that the integral of phi is equal to 1. So we have this scaling process to define phi epsilon. And with this convolution product, we define a function at any point x that now we compare with our rho t. So let's take the, as this is random quantities, let's take the expectation and measure the error through the supremum in X. Okay, so let's do some computations. So first of all, we will smooth the solution of the process itself. And if phi is a theta order cutoff, so means that all the moments of order less than theta minus 1 or equal to theta minus 1 are just 0, and that the theta moments is just bounded. If rho is smooth enough, so mean rho t is in C theta, then we know that the regularization error coming from the fact that we compare rho t with rho star phi epsilon is controlled with this epsilon theta order. Next, we then have to compare rho epsilon with the particles approximation here. But rho epsilon t could be written like this as the expectation of phi epsilon of x minus xt being the target, the process I want to approximate the law. So the convergence between these two guys are just driven by law of large number, and the very crude computation here leads to something not really new, 1 over square root of epsilon times n multiplied by the norm of the cutoff and an estimation of the norm or infinity norm of the solution of the PDE. Okay, so we could as well add a discretization in time in this procedure. So let's consider here an Euler skin. So just compute x bar at time tk plus 1 delta t from x bar I tk delta t plus the increment of the drift freeze at time tk plus an increment of the Brownian motion. So the error between the continuous system of particles and the discrete time ones is just driven by, let's say, the trajectorial error here, which could be control, in that case, by a delta t, because we don't have any stochastic integral, we have just a sigma here. The rate of convergence is the delta t, and we then go to a complete approximation, non-asymptotic rate of convergence for this numerical procedure. C epsilon theta that correspond to the regularization error, a statistical error, and a time discretization error. Okay, so three sources of approximation, three terms that correspond to each sources of error. Okay, let's consider now Makin-Lazoff problem. So the difference now is in the fact that both drift and diffusion coefficient could depend to the solution itself according to some kernels, B for the drift, with B of bracket, which is defined as a function of B of x and y, integrated to a function u, a measure u, sorry. Same for the diffusion coefficient sigma with the bracket x, u is a measure, and we integrate a function sigma of x and u with respect to this measure. So again, we have a weak formulation associated to this problem. So take again a test function phi of f C2b and rewrite this equation as this weak form here. So we want to construct an approximation of the solution of this PDE, again, adopting a stochastic viewpoint. And I just recall quickly some basic results on SDs, the Makin-Lazoff SDs. First one due to Sylvie Milliard. If B and sigma are Lipschitz function, if ρ0, the initial density admit a second order moment, then there exists, and we have also existence and uniqueness both in law and trajectorially to this nonlinear process, xt driven by a B and sigma, where ρs is the law of the process at time s. Okay, so there are many ways to derive the existence and uniqueness of this kind of stochastic equation with now various set of hypotheses both for sigma and for B. I'm interested in the particle approximation. So again, I introduce mu n, which is an empirical measure of some set of, not independent now, set of particles, x, I, and I add n here to refer to the fact that it's the particle I among a set of n particles. And I introduce this now approximation of my limit process by replacing my limit law by this empirical mu n. So again, could we qualify a non-asymptotic convergence result of mu n toward ρ, the solution of the nonlinear PDE? So just before to go on the computation for non-asymptotic result, a brief reminder of the asymptotic interpretation given by propagation of KO results. So if we consider this system x1n till xnn of particles defined with the interacting system of stochastic differential equation, then this set of particles is propagates the chaos, means that if I take the limit n tends to infinity, I recover, if I take just one particle among that set, I recover exactly the law of the limit process. Okay. I'm more interested in non-asymptotic approximation. So let me skip this. So adding also, we can see this introduction of empirical measure as a spatial discretization. Okay, so we can also add this time discretization again with help of an Euler scheme and construct this approximation function for our limit law at time t, time tk. Here we have a result quite old now. In the case where B is of class C2, two times derivatives in the two components X and Y, and S, the diffusion kernel, is in C3. So the results, again, make up three terms. One is a statistical error, again, in 1 over epsilon square root of n. The second one is a cutoff error. So now the cutoff function here is chosen to be a two-order cutoff function. So typically a Gaussian kernel. And we have this extra time discretization approximation in square root of delta t, which is not optimal. We should have a delta t here, divided by epsilon. So the fact that we need smooth functions, so smooth kernel B and sigma, comes from the fact that to analyze such approximation, we need information on the PDE, and typically we need to know, at least in that proof, that the Fokker-Planck equation, the nonlinear solution of the Fokker-Planck equation, has a strong. It's not me. Has a strong solution, a classical solution. So it's the same slide. Okay. So another result with different set of hypotheses is given by Antonelli and Koatsuhiga. It's a result of 2002. Again, B and sigma are very smooth functions, C infinity. We are in the framework of Malyavin calculus, okay, to derive some control on the derivative of the Fokker-Planck equation. In particular, in the case where some weak Ormander condition could be introduced instead of a strong elliptic condition here. In the particular case, so the cutoff here is just the Gaussian kernel. It's mandatory. The proof works only if phi is a Gaussian kernel. And if we choose epsilon square equal delta t, then we have a rate of convergence again with three terms, but two parameters, delta t and n. And now we recover the right rate of convergence for the Euler scheme in delta t instead of square root delta t. So this result is optimal under such stronger hypothesis, but this result is optimal in all the parameters. Okay. So that was the panorama for smooth kernel. So now I want to go back to some applications, and typically the one my first illustration on a fluid simulation, a wind simulation in a domain. And the Makin-Vlasov equation associated to this turbulence model are of this form. So it's a process in dimension 6. We decompose it in a position and a velocity process, eventually a temperature process, so in fact in dimension 7. If we take into account the temperature also. So it's a kinetic formulation, so particles are moving according to a position u, according to a velocity u, sorry. And the velocity is described through this stochastic differential equation, and we have two Makin-Vlasov terms, nonlinearities, written as conditional expectation of the velocity and temperature, knowing the position of the process. Okay, so this could be written in terms of the law of the couple x and u, and this interaction will be singular in the x component. So typically, if I simplify a little bit the equation, coming back to a situation where I have just a Brownian motion here and a drift B, nonlinear depending on rho s, rho being the law of my couple xt ut. B, now if I want to recover this conditional expectation here, should be written like this, like integral of a function b, maybe a smooth one, I don't know. Could be a smooth one, but with respect to rho, and divide by normalization of the conditional, the marginal weight according to the x direction. So I can smooth a little bit this singular kernel at, in terms of x by delocalize a little bit this interaction in x by introducing a convolution product with, again, with again this cutoff function, k it's a kernel function. And then I can recover a classical, with smooth coefficient, a classical Makin-Vlasov equation. So I know that there is an existence and uniqueness for this model, and I want to understand how I can how accurate could be a particular method according to the role that is prominent of the parameter, of the regularization parameter, that's now directly enter in the drift of my simulation. And of course, in terms of the number of particles I want to introduce in my simulation. So let me again make some basic computation here. Come back to a situation where this kernel B is a symmetric one. So it means that B of x and y is a function of just one variable, but we evaluate it in x minus y. In that case, B of rho t could be expressed like the expectation of B at point x minus a process, this process y. So again, let's introduce a a particle approximation of this Y process by this set of interacting particles. And what we can easily derive is the following results. If B is smooth enough to in fact, consider this as a Feynman-Cach formulation of a PDE that have a smooth, a strong solution. So this is why we need B so smooth. Assume that phi is a smooth enough kernel function. Then the distance between a weak approximation, now not a punctual approximation at point x, but something integrated with this state function phi, between the empirical measure and rho t, is controlled by a constant over square root of n. But the problem is that the constant depends strongly and badly to the Lipschitz constant of my function B, of my kernel B. And this is a very simple computation. Imagine that we consider the error on the drift. What is the error on the drift? Is the expectation of B at a point of a particle, but integrate with respect to the exact measure. And we take the same quantities, but replace the exact measure by the empirical measure. Okay, so if I take the difference between a particle independent each other's, because here I just move the particles according to a linear drift. I put the exact solution in that drift, so I have here a coupling with an independent system of particles, and I just compare this independent particle number 1 with the interacting particle number 1. And what I have, I recover the integral over time of my drift error. Okay. So my drift is a Lipschitz function, so I can bound this by the expectation of 3 times, in fact, the Lipschitz function of B, plus the drift error again. And the drift error itself, I can bound it by the distance between the independent particle and the interacting one, plus the drift error again. So what I have at the end is a sort of a double-level Grunwald lemma, but driven by a constant, which is the Lipschitz constant of B. And this is very bad, because we know that this will give an exponential of the Lipschitz constant with a plus, not a minus here. So we have this constant here. And when the kernel typically is a cutoff function, we will have 1 over epsilon of epsilon square in place of this. So it's a very bad and rough estimation of the numerical behavior of such algorithm. So a symptomatic case illustration of this phenomena is illustrated by this famous example of Makin problem. Here, I consider an equation, a stochastic Makin-Vlasov equation, where the drift here is the density itself of the process. So this has an interpretation given by Snitman that shows that, in fact, this corresponds to a local time between y and a copy of y. So a very odd interaction at point x. So let us introduce again a cutoff kernel, introduce the interacting particle system via the empirical measure mu n. And then, if we had some smooth enough initial condition, typically in Sobolev space W21 and W2 infinity, we know that the solution, the law of the process, we stay in such a Sobolev space, and that the regularization error should be of order epsilon square. But then, if we apply the previous strategy, of course, the behavior in terms of epsilon will be, at least theoretically, of this order exponential of c over epsilon divided by square root of n. And a simple numerical test on this Burger case, this is in fact given, this gives the PDE associated to rho s, to this equation is the Burger equation. So this leads to a quite good approximation of by a particle method, and the order of convergence, at least numerically, is not at all of with an exponential of 1 over epsilon. Okay, so I would like to take a little bit the time to explain how we can deal now with this non-smooth drift term. On an example like this, in dimension 1, and then I will give you the results we have obtained for a more general case and in dimension D. So let's consider a limit process xt driven by a kernel B of xs rho s ds plus a Brownian motion with rho t equal to the law of xt. And the hypothesis on B is just measurable and bounded. No Lipschitz. And in fact, what I want to derive now, is the same kind of error that choose only the bound on B and not at all any derivatives on the drift. Okay, so introduce a particle system. So the initial conditions are independent copies of the initial condition x0. Replace rho by the empirical measure of the set of particles and move the add some stochastic noise according to some independent Brownian motions. So we have here a set of n particles, and we want to consider an error of the form of the expectation of 1 over n of a cutoff function of a given point x minus xin t minus rho t of x. And I can apply a norm according to the variable x. That could be, in this situation, a L1 norm or a L infinity norm as well. So So typically, so phi is a cutoff, and let's say that is a two-order cutoff function. So with this, I have a PDE for rho, which is d rho over dt equal sigma square over 2 d2x2 rho minus d over dx of b of x rho rho. So this is the Fokker-Planck equation. And if I had an initial condition with information like rho 0 is in W 2 on 1 enter W to infinity, then some variational inequalities allow me to consider that rho t at uniformly in time is also in W1 and W to infinity. Okay, so this means that the regularization error rho t times phi epsilon in L1 or in L infinity is also bounded by C epsilon square. So in my error analysis, I could just get rid of this regularization error, and the rest is something of the form 1 over n phi epsilon x I in t minus expectation of phi epsilon t, phi epsilon x minus xt. Then I want to introduce a first statistical error corresponding to the approximation of the initial law. So this, I want to make a pair 1 over n, sum over n in front of it. So I approximated it with an expectation, still an expectation here, but I will start with independent copies, and in particular initial conditions, independent initial condition for each at time 0. And then when I can, the error associated to this is just the law of large numbers, so 1 over square root of n multiplied by an estimation of the variance of this random variables. So the error induced by this is of order constant. We will have the norm of phi epsilon that appear in that story. So 1 over epsilon and 1 over square root of n. So now, for each I have a form of something like phi epsilon x minus x I n t minus the expectation of phi epsilon x minus x I t. And this could be rewritten with a Feynman-Kac formulation by considering the following PDE. Consider now a backward PDE.
So Xi is a copy of X?
Yes, I introduce, I should maybe xit is just xi0 plus the integral from 0 to t of b of xis, rho s, so rho is given, plus sigma d wt. So it's just a set of independent copies of my limit process.
But then the expectation is the same, so there's no...
You should remove the expectation at the second line, in fact.
No. I just want to... let me... Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait?
Yes, to have a statistical error, you should just remove the expectation side at the second line.
Yes, but I want to... in fact, I want to make something like this and put here y equal to x I0 to have a Feynman-Kac representation of this. So I let the expectation here, but I just introduce some randomness in that story by choosing independently the initial condition. That's it. But I need this expectation. So now I introduce a backward PDE, sorry. Let's call it V. V is a set of solution of a PDE with two fixed parameters, a final time t and a position x. So for each t and x, I do have a PDE for any s and y, and dv over dt is equal to sigma square over 2 dv over ty 2 plus b of y, rho t. Rho t is known, is supposed to be known, so this is a function of y multiplied by dv over dy. My final condition is v of tx at point ty equal to phi epsilon x minus y. So this is why I have this parametrization of my equation with respect to x. X is this point, this particular point. Okay, so I have this PDE now, and this term then could be rewrite with the help of V as V tx at t x, y, and t minus V xt at time 0 starting at x0. It's an equality. Okay? So now I'm in position. So of course, phi epsilon is a smooth function. I have a nice PDE here. So I have a strong solution for my problem here. So I can apply UE2 formula without any trouble here. Before that, a remark. So Dan introduced the subject on how to obtain some estimates on V and the derivatives of V with some Maliavin calculus, integrating parametrics methods or things like that. I will propose you what I call a mild formulation. of the solution V, which is the same. It's choose the heat equation as a part of this equation, equation solved by V, and integrate partially V with respect to the heat kernel. So this could be done with any part of the PDE you have an information on. So it could be on the drift, could be partially on sigma, etc., etc. It's a very general method, but in that case, we have that V of Tx Sy is given by, so G of Tx is the heat kernel, the fundamental solution of the heat equation. And here I have T minus S times phi epsilon at point y plus the integral from 0 to T minus S of G, T minus S minus theta times d over dy of B multiplied by V. So in other words, if I remove this and put the derivatives on G, I have a way to derive some estimation on V and these derivatives with respect to Y, typically something like the fact that the supremum in X of dy over dy in L1 is the same as the supremum in Y of dv over dy in L1 but in X, and is smaller than the constant over T minus S. This is given by the derivatives in Y of this heat kernel. And the same, it's the same estimation that Dan showed in the beginning of his lectures. But also we have that the supremum, both in X and Y of dV over dy, is less than C over epsilon T minus S, or if we are in a situation where S is too close to T, we can also bound this by epsilon square. The two bonds are, could be derived from this equality. Okay, so now I can apply the Ito formula on my expression here.
How do you get rid of the epsilon in the first estimate? Your first estimate is over X?
Yes, when I integrate in L1 with respect to X or Y, I can get rid of the epsilon, yes. But at the end, I will have an epsilon in the rate of convergence. Huh? Yeah. Okay, so applying the Ito formula here and adding the sum of I in this will give two terms. The first one is the difference of the drift. So again, we have a drift error to analyze. And this term is produced by the Ito formula plus the application of this PDE that introduce that term instead of the second order derivatives given by the Ito formula. Replace the second order derivatives by a dv over dx multiplied by the drift. And the other one is a sum of stochastic integrals driven by independent Brownian motion. So here we will have a dyv. So this is again a statistical error. Then we have the iteration in time, dependent time. But because of the control we could get on the derivative here, depending on epsilon alone and combination with epsilon and square root of t minus s, integrating in time the 1 over square root t minus s, this is of order 1 over, again, epsilon square root of n. And now we have this term. And this is almost the same story that my starting point here, but I have to replace phi epsilon by b, and only that. The problem is the fact that I can remove my sum here, it doesn't count anymore, and I can choose a particle, say the particle number n, to put in my term here. So in law, it's exactly the same term than for any choice of I. So these particles are not independent of this empirical measure. So the idea is just to remove this particle number n in the interaction of the others just by a Girsanov theorem. So I just give this idea quickly. So construct, and I will stop, construct a change of measure, Qn, based on a product of change of measures, and this by k, for k equal 1 to n minus 1, and each of these z and k is a exponential martingale driven by the difference of the drift here. So it is x and k mu n minus b of x and k mu n, where in this empirical measure I remove the dependency of this last particle. So mu n without n is 1 over n minus 1 sum for e equal 1 to n minus 1 of the Dirac mass in x, I, n. And then according to this new law Qn, the system x and n could be disintegrate with respect to this law conditionally to mu n, and mu n then behave like a mu n minus 1 set of particles. And then we can iterate this by something like the expectation of the L1 norm of B of a point Z mu n minus 1s minus B of Z rho s. So if I replace in my PDE here phi epsilon by B, all the control I have does not depend on epsilon anymore. I just have the boundedness of B in that story. And then all the rate of convergence I already all the terms of error I already goes out in my estimation are completely independent of epsilon, and then I can iterate and apply a Grandval lemma without any epsilon in it, and it's enough to conclude the proof. Just to well, I'm not sure I have time. No. Okay, so I'm stop here. Sorry.
Are there questions?
C'est un peu dur.
Thank you. So you discuss a case where sigma is constant, more or less. Do you have a generalization of this?
Alors, when sigma is not a constant anymore, you have two cases. First case is it's just a stochastic integral with linear in the sense of Makin, and then you can. All of this could be if you manage estimation on the derivative with, again with Magnavin calculus or parametrics methods, it's okay. For nonlinear Makin term, it's more a problem. It's an open problem.
So the issue is the dependence with. The issue is the dependence with the law, not with the state.
The issue now is the fact that you cannot make some Girsanov change of measure so easily.
Another question? No. So let us thank Mireille again.